bands can be awfully fickle, and in my experience they usually fall apart pretty quickly after just a few years. People move, get too busy, have creative differences, or just lose interest. So it is actually incredible to me that this marks my 10th year with Deep Love, a ghostly rock opera. And in that decade, I have learned and grown quite a lot. 10 years is a pretty long time to do anything. At this point, it represents almost a third of my life. And for a project as ambitious and weird as this one, it's kind of a miracle. So some quick background here. This show was written by a couple of friends of mine in college over a long Idaho winter in 2009 as a way to cope with some hard breakups. Over the years, the show has grown from just a little thing that they thought would be a one-off to an annual event that is a 2-act theater production with makeup and costumes and lighting design and props and a fanatic cult following. To this day, the show is 100% independent and has been performed in Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon, Illinois, and even New York City as an off-Broadway theater production. We even got reviewed by the New York Times. That's crazy, right? Over this past decade, I have learned a ton about music and creativity and leadership and a whole lot about bass guitar. So let me take you through a few things that I've learned from being in this incredible project. Record everything. Recording your gigs or your practices or even just little clips at home is an invaluable practice tool. When you're actively playing, you're focused on your instrument and what you're doing in the moment. But if you record that and then watch it back later, you can listen to it in a different way. It frees up your mind to pay attention to things that you weren't able to while you were in the moment. I have filled hard drives over the past couple of years filming every gig that I can. And almost none of it is worth sharing, but all of it is worth reviewing. You'll find things that you did well. You'll find things that you didn't do so well. You'll hear yourself overplaying or rushing or how you're interacting with the audience, and then be able to make adjustments for the next one. Even if you don't plan on making content with it later, I highly recommend recording your gigs. Use your phone or a GoPro or just record audio. Use whatever you've got because those recordings will be invaluable in pushing your playing forward. If you'd like a video on how I record my gigs, please leave me a comment down below. I think I've gotten pretty good at it, and I've even started doing it for other bands, so let me know if that's something you'd like to see on this channel. So I am here now at the beautiful Mid-Valley Performance Theater. It's a relatively new facility. We played here last year, and it's really, really good to be back because this is a really cool theater. Now, one thing that I've learned about being in more of a theatrical production is the use of themes and motifs to tell a story. This is a really important part of the rock opera, where you'll establish a melody or a lyric or a theme and then bring it back later on in the show. So, for example, there's this lyric where one of the characters says, "If there's a song, it feels to die." And then at the end of the show, he sings that same line again, but the context is completely changed. And even though it's the same lyric and the same melody, it means something totally different. And I think things like that are cool. And so my tip for you here is to steal melodic ideas from vocal melodies. So instead of doing just the spamming pentatonic riffs where you're just, doing the box thing, like that works, it's functional, it's sometimes really effective, but it can be really limiting and it can get old really fast. But if you're borrowing your musical ideas from melodies, it'll break you out of those patterns, introduce you to new ways of thinking about your playing, and make everything a lot more interesting. So if you found yourself in a spot where you're not really sure what to play or you're getting tired of your own musical ideas, start just learning melodies of anything on bass. Learn how to play Somewhere Over the Rainbow or the Star Wars theme. Like anything that will break you out of those established patterns that you get stuck into is a tremendous help when trying to write new, interesting bass lines. Tonight you won't escape my spite. Decide now, poor Friedrich's time is come. And drag you screaming to eternal sleep. And drag you screaming to eternal sleep. So last night was pretty fun. Here's my third piece of advice. Say yes as often as possible. I'll be honest, when I first heard about this show, I thought it sounded pretty lame and I didn't even want to go. But I had some friends drag me to the show in 2012, and then the following year, the music director asked me to play bass, and I said yes, and I am so glad that I did. Even in those early days, I saw the enormous potential that this show had, and I sometimes think about what a huge mistake I would have made if I'd said no. I have made so many friends, I've traveled all over the country, and I've developed so much as a musician through this show. Anytime that I get an offer to play a gig, if I'm available and I can make it work, I'll say yes. Because I know that I'll regret it if I pass it up and just stay home. Maybe I'll meet somebody on that gig who's going to give me a better opportunity later on. Maybe it's just a chance to learn some new music and develop some new skills. Maybe it's just a fun night out. Maybe it's a little bit of cash in my pocket. Whatever the end result is, I have rarely regretted saying yes to a gig. I've definitely played my fair share of duds, but I've rarely regretted saying yes because every one of those yeses is a learning opportunity. At our opening night for the show this year, our music director ended up having a last-minute conflict and wasn't able to make the show, and so I was asked to assume all of his duties. I said yes, and it honestly felt amazing to step into a leadership role in a way that I really never have before. So say yes to everything you can. You'll inevitably have a couple of bad experiences, but I promise they'll be far outweighed by how many good experiences you'll have just getting out there. Thank you so much for watching my video. This is just gonna ask you a couple of questions. If you wanna, just fill that out for me, that'd be great. Bonus tip, get yourself a cart. Why are you carrying your own shit in 2023? That's stupid. Get a cart!